Like, I consider it to be the dumbest trend. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Simply Selicia. Today is Stan Culture Part 2. In Part 1 we kind of talked about vocab, origin, all the general what you need to know. We're going to take a deeper dive today about some of the things I briefly mentioned in Part 1. I'm probably gonna minorly rant at some points, so it's gonna be fun. Please don't forget that kind of down below in my links I will have link to research notes and deeper diving into the subject if you so choose. That way you know what I was looking at when I went to create this video, and if you want to learn a little something extra, if it interests you, it is there. We're going to start with the heavy, and that means parasocial relationships and tribalism with fan communities. So certainly we have plenty of that in the K-pop fandom, but do not be fooled. This concept is topic wide, and if there are fans, there's potential is basically the idea. So we're going to start with parasocial relationships. This is the definition. The origin started coming around in the 50s when TV hosts started being more buddy-buddy with their viewers. It's entirely possible that these types of shifts in relationships were already happening since the beginning of storytelling and so on. If you really think about the connection that many of us have with fictional characters as well, I admit it's still hard sometimes. As a Game of Thrones fan, I see Jack Leeson and I feel this deep internal rage of oh, fuck you, Joffrey. But it's just I know that's not Jack G, that's not him as a person. It's a character that he played on TV. So just kind of sit with that kind of concept for a minute and think about how his performance may still put you on edge, or if you're unfamiliar with that reference, anything that you've read or watched that really affected you deeply, you can kind of apply this to. And while you're pondering that, we're going to discuss kind of the 3 levels of parasocial relationships and what you might experience in that parasocial relationship with a celebrity. The first level is the entertainment social level. This is where the person keeps up with the celebrity and finds out information about them for the purpose of entertainment. The second level is the intense personal level, where the person has intense feelings for the celebrity and might appear obsessed. And then the third level is borderline pathological, and this is where the person has over-identified with the celebrity and their fantasies and behavior may have become uncontrollable. Their absorption is more like an addiction. So we got that out of the way. I'm going to tell you kind of what I perceive as stan culture day in and day out. And I think a lot of people are sitting at a solid 2. I think they're closer to straddling that line between 1 and 2. But when somebody dips into level 3, that's what we talk about, that's what gets trending and so on. That's the sasaeng level fuckery right there is level 3. So this is purely my opinion. I think that everyone we all start at level 1. That's just I just want to learn their name stage. You're just kind of casually figuring out about them and figuring out about K-pop. It's your natural day-to-day, and then, oh, you're slipping, you're sliding down the hill, you're falling into the hole. As you become immersed, you're taking in kind of only K-pop. It's K-pop hours all the time. And your stan account is up and active, and you're on the top of the artist moves and this and that. You're getting things down, you understand things. It's the most dedicated you've probably been to something in the last few months, maybe years of your life. But guess what? Level 2 is looking you right in the face. It's on its way. I believe most people boomerang between level 1 and level 2. So you go and come back. Some people go and they don't come back. Some people don't make it past a certain point, which is fine. It happens. This is kind of part of figuring yourself out, but there is a darkness to that and a path that you can go down that you don't want to end up with. And I think the common thing I see, because every person is different, every fan experience is different, we all can boomerang to these things at different paces, at different times, and come back and forth out of it at different times, at a different pace. It's all relative to you as a person. So I believe most people boomerang between level 1 and then level 2, and then sometimes you get the shallow end of level 2. But then when we get into that deeper level 2, my kind of thought process is like level 1 is the shallow end of a pool and you're walking towards the deep end. So like the deeper you get into level 2, you start to become kind of desensitized to the weight of you. You are not necessarily thinking about your actions, the weight of your actions and how the ripples of those actions that you take affect everyone around you. You're not thinking about that. You're just trying to float and go with this feeling of freedom. And the deeper you wade into that level 2 is, in my opinion, where we see most of like the fandom arguments, like within the fandoms arguments. So like that's usually like where you get like into solo stan and kind of, you know, frictions over that, and like frictions over being like, I know better than the company, or like I am a manager, they should do this, this, and this. You get that kind of thing on like a very intense level. You get kind of like the only a real whatever the fandom name is would do this, or you have to do this, this, and this to be this fandom name. And it's just like, it's too much. But those are like familiar arguments that come up again and again and again within whatever fandom you're a part of. And, you know, from there, you go even deeper in. Some people go farther in. And it's like, now you're like eat, breathing, and dreaming 안녕하세요, like the person that is your ultimate bias. You're going to marry them. You're going to move to Korea, walk down the street. They're going to see you and know that you're the one. It's you. And like, you are kind of like consumed with media. Like, so you are like consuming everything, every moment, everything that you could possibly get your hands on in a way where you're not even asking, where did that information come from? How was this obtained? Maybe you are kind of like, you know, you've never been challenged. You just kind of floated along, and you never challenged the thought. You never thought at all. You just kind of fell right into this obsession where, you know, these idols, or, you know, whatever it is that you're into is like ruling your life. And what would seem like extreme has probably only been met with validation. So like whatever you've been posting or saying, maybe people think that you're joking or maybe people, you know, like you get retweets and replies and stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I've been validated. People clearly have this same thought, and, you know, this is a common feeling. I'm not like off the deep end or anything. You've already kind of like crossed that threshold where like, you know, everything that you can do to get closer to them the next time they're in town, or maybe you've already looked into ways of accessing their like private information, or maybe you're already like using their private information. If that is the case, fam, you are a level 3 and you need to backstroke that ass back to the shallow end, because it's too much. You're off. You have fallen off into the deep end. You're floating so beyond, you know, it scares me when people kind of float beyond that reach of where you have like that life ring, and you're like, bring it back, sister, bring it back, brother, because you are going way too far. And some people go too far and they never come back. And that level of obsession is scary. And once again, like that's how you enter into the sasaeng fan kind of mentality. We can't save everyone from falling into those patterns, going deeper and deeper, because it is really just like, it can happen like that. It's all instant like gratification. It's things that make us happy. It's a distraction. It's all of those things. But you cannot forget that behind like our idols, no matter what level of like passion, heart, sincerity that they personally have, and like what they bring to you, they are still backed by a corporation, and that corporation designs things to be engaging and fun to make money. And I'm not saying that making money is wrong. Making money is a part of life, but they clearly like they clearly need money to do what they are doing. And I understand that. However, for us as individuals, it's important to have a firm foot in reality so that we don't fall off into those unhealthy paths and promote kind of like unhealthy treatment of each other. So this is supposed to be fun. And like that was an extreme walkthrough of like what a parasocial relationship can lead us to. Many of like that same activities on that same path, when we're like going deeper into a fandom or something that we like enjoy, it like that same path can lead us to amazing personal growth. It can lead us to great community that we experience from like with people from all over the world. And I just, this right here, like between me and you, this is a parasocial relationship, me and the viewer. And, you know, I'm not a celebrity. This person I am on camera is me, but it is a more engaging, more exciting version of myself because I am using your time. So I want to be more entertaining, or I want to make sure that I'm giving you information that seems like worth your time being here. So like the beauty of YouTube for me is that I can come here and I can be the more exciting version of myself because this is a place I come to talk about, you know, what excites me. And I know that those same things that excite me also excite other people out there. And the topics that I otherwise, it's like the topics that I would otherwise get kind of semi-interested drugs on in my day-to-day. So there are a ton of people that I can go to and discuss K-pop with on varying degrees. But this is a space that I was able to create that is me and whoever drops by. And the double-edged sword of this is that, like, how can I encourage people to drop by? Because I want to create conversations. So, like, how do I encourage people to drop by without giving too much of myself away, but also make content I want to make while not getting lost in the numbers? Like everything on YouTube is kind of like about the numbers. They make a point to make everything that you manage from your end about numbers. And it's a delicate balance to get down. It's a constant state of redefinition, but I love it and I love doing it. However, I know this is a parasocial relationship and everything else. And that's why like I have parts of myself that I keep private. So like I have to naturally protect things about myself, and privacy is important. I'm not even 300 subscribers in, and I've already experiencing like people like okay, sorry. Privacy is important. I'm not even 300 subscribers in, but I have already experienced someone saying to me, "You're just a black bitch that doesn't understand anything," because I didn't identify with kind of their favorite song from a track that like a track list that I reacted to. I didn't have the same reaction, so therefore I was wrong. So, like, it's frustrating because parasocial relationships are like a way for us to explore emotional and social kind of options without risk. So they give us protection from rejection and danger. And I can sit back and say, oh, well, if that's me in this zombie apocalypse, then I would this, and this. And like you're watching these characters that you love make decisions from your couch. And it's just like, it's exciting, it's fun, it's razzle dazzle, but it's the type of connection creators like want to see you have with their narrative babies. And it's great because we have a great capability. Like there is greatness in this to be able to learn and grow from a relationship that isn't mutual and strained by our environment, which is why we need to keep that understanding that they are not mutual and keep ourselves in check. That brings me to the next point that I think is important to discuss, especially with like social media platforms and everything that goes hand in hand with our parasocials, and that is toxic tribalism. Tribalism is being organized in a tribe or tribes. So when I'm referring to toxic tribalism, I am talking about taking your loyalty to your tribe to a place of dogma and dysfunction. Any of your buzzword scenarios can be dipped in toxic tribalism. I think one of the biggest categories that I think everyone has an idea of when I say it would be politics. So, like, I don't necessarily think that K-pop is dripping with toxic tribalism at every turn, but like the basics of toxic tribalism are like rampant through K-pop and like other fandoms. And it comes out often and it comes out a lot in peak like voting season. So like my camera died, so this is probably like a weird cut, but basically I wanted to talk about like when I'm scrolling through Stan Twitter, which is my example because that's where I spend like a lot of my fan time to get information and stuff. But this dynamic can be applied to any platform, whether you're like on Instagram or something. I constantly see demonization. So like whatever the opposite thought is, like even if it's minor or like if it's just something little and petty, anyone can jump on that and then it like you make it a big deal, or it's something like petty that trends or anything like that. So like this happens all the time because people say like, oh, you know, blank is the best and your faves are flops and this song is a skip and stuff like that. Or like that's like the petty stuff. And then even something more extreme can be like, oh, this person is a racist, this person hurts this other member, or like this person is whatever it may be. And people hop in, you know, opinions spread around, retweets, replies, it goes around in the different fan circles. And what happens is whatever the problem is, like whatever that original thing was, it never kind of gets confronted or solved. So like whatever the problem is, it's never reported back to the majority or other fans like this person said this and I don't agree. It is armies are saying, XOLs are saying this, Blinks are saying this. And like what happens is like whatever fandom is having an argument or whatever is going on, it becomes offense and defense. So like, you know, whatever side you're on, our unconscious attitudes and unconscious behaviors are like to favor whoever it is that's like on our team, who's on our side. And, you know, whatever happens is that now that generalization that is out there is in the way of the core problem. Now it's us versus them and not everyone trying to like figure out, you know, what's the problem? What is the actual thing that is being debated? We've removed ourselves from the problem and it's now about us versus you. And like that kind of thought process is really damaging. And that's when we see things like what I think is the most, like I consider it to be the dumbest trend. And this is totally my opinion, but this is the dumbest trend. And that's like the fan cam replies. I cannot stand them. You've probably seen them. They're like the fan cam replies where people are like, oh, if your faves did this, then whatever. Or like they're just there. They have nothing to do with what's going on. Someone's just posting a fan cam. And it's just one of those things where like maybe at one point that was like a cheeky comeback, something funny or like fun that was done. But now it's just this lazy, uninspired, like hate spreading kind of attempt at half-assed promotion that does nothing but create more barriers amongst ourselves, and it also creates a barrier between like just K-pop in general and the locals, as we say. It's just not a good look, and it brings bad connotation to the artists that like you love so much. So what's the point? And you know, it begins if you are kind of like in an argument with someone, you're like engaged with someone, and you do that, you're just arguing for argument's sake. If your argument has nothing to do with listening to what is being told to you, adjusting your argument, and moving along from there, then I don't know what the fuck else you're doing than shouting into the void. I don't know. Because it's just, why be a part of the problem when you can just not engage? And people are allowed to have interests that are different from yours. So like that's kind of like the core of it. Why be part of the problem? Don't engage. Because people can have interests that are different from yours. Your best is not everyone else's best. And saying the best is relative. The best is relative. The best idol, the best group, the best song, it's relative. And if you want to come in here and be like, oh, but you can track it by sales and this and that, and it's like, okay, one of the best, whatever. Why do we care so much about those types of stats? They're fun stats to have. It's cool if you're like into that thing, but that has nothing to do with being the best. That is stats for the corporation that makes money on that type of stuff. Like, it's all part of being a fan, but the best, what matters in being the best is totally reliant on you. It's whatever touches your soul and whatever inspires you. That is your best. And, you know, it's just that you can have more than one best. You can have more than one best personally, just like the industry itself can have more than one best of that time. It fluctuates. That's how it works. That is the beauty of art. So like, that's where I'm coming from. But I just feel like overall stan culture and like little things like this with parasocial relationships and tribalism, it's really important and great, kind of like key to life in a way, like to better ourselves as fans and as individuals in this life. It's important to put our foot down and claim ourselves as individuals. So like, you have to know who you are, and you have to have your own kind of code of conduct that goes beyond being part of a group. And if you don't root yourself in what makes you kind of, and you don't like develop that independence, then you will get swept away in the undercurrents of whatever dogma that social group you're kind of interacting with has. You're going to get swept up in it. And, you know, there's no way to know where something like that will take you. And, you know, the important thing about a lot of this is that to develop as people and like just relate to each other constantly and work on that kind of thing is that we have to question ourselves. You have to question yourself. You have to question your beliefs and, you know, thoughts, and be objective. You have to like explore ideas that contradict your own. You have to do your research. It's great to get out and learn about different cultures, even if it's uncomfortable, and, you know, try to get out and experience new things, new cultures, new people, new situations, so that you can try to like expand your horizons. And while you're doing that, you should do it with kindness. Like, just be kinder to each other. Approach each other with a kind heart, and things might go differently than you originally anticipated or expected. And even if you approach everyone around you with common kindness and they do not pay it back, it's still gonna feel better than coming in, because it's gonna be like coming in with your guns blazing and stuff. Because just showing up with some kindness and common sense and just being able to be an individual and kind of sort through those kinds of scenarios is already an antidote to whatever poison someone else is carrying around with them. So like, you go in armed, ready to go. So it's just like, that's a great kind of place to be in when you kind of know yourself and can separate yourself from whatever's going on. And sometimes we all need wake-up calls when we kind of like are floating through things that we love. You know, there can be too much of a good thing. So being aware is important and part of engaging with life and like around us, and like building healthy communities and relationships. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today in Stan Culture Part 2. Please check out Stan Culture Part 1 if you want to kind of know where this is coming from, if you haven't seen that yet. But otherwise, if you like what I do on this channel, please like, please comment, please subscribe. I want to know what you guys are thinking, your experiences, whatever it may be. Please comment it down below, share it with a friend, engage with the people around you. I'm like totally into that. And that's pretty much all I had for today. So please, once again, like, comment, subscribe if you're interested, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Take off, just to tell what you would take off. I'm ready for take off.
want you to take